No Bigfooters or Sasquatch were harmed during the filming of this video. Just their pride.
Hey, that Rictor guy, the Bigfoot guy, right?
Not again.
Right? You've been making you've been making claims that hurt people and Bigfoot. You're allowing Bigfoot to bugger you in the woods. I'm gonna end you.
Alright, so bring it.
Black Lab, you ain't one of them Antifa, are you?
Yeah.
Oh man, oh yeah. Hey, hit the liberal.
Hey my little Squatch monsters, it's time to shake up the Bigfoot community. This is Off the Rictor.
It is not easy to constantly produce Bigfoot stuff.
Because I'm gonna film one today for you, I think. Maybe not physically like as we know it, but like where you could see it really good.
Oh boy, here we go. Make sure your seats are raised and tray tables locked in the upright position. This is a show where I roast Bigfoot attention whores and hoaxers and Bigfoot superstars. Like me.
Bigfoot is like cancer, in my opinion.
Did she just say Bigfoot's like cancer? Oh, honey. Bless her heart.
No. Bigfoot is not like cancer at all.
He looked like a Neanderthal man with a lot of hair. About 800 pounds. Massive.
God! Is everyone in Bigfooting a hoaxer?
Yes.
You want your Bigfoot video to be seen? Now's your chance.
You know, believe what you want. Believe what you want, run with it, find your evidence, get what you're doing. Just don't be a dick.
Oh, you haven't seen nothing yet. Let's be honest here, guys. I refuse to believe in Bigfoot.
So, Rictor, I have no doubts about your sincerity on this matter whatsoever. But I gotta tell you, my friend, a lot of people watching this, seeing the obviously disdain you have for the man, may think you have something, a grudge to grind.
No question.
Yep.
I don't lie. I don't hold things back. I'm probably the most honest person you've ever watched on YouTube.
Straightforward, he is.
The truth with Sasquatch lies with the Native Americans, and it's my job to point out the Bigfoot bullshit. Hey my little Squatch monsters. I wanted to talk to you about something that's very, very important. It's September, and it's National Suicide Awareness Month. We also need to talk about mental health. These are subjects that are never talked about in Bigfoot circles, Bigfoot TV shows, Bigfoot podcasts, and Bigfoot clicks.
Those are the facts.
Every Bigfoot media personality that you watch on TV or on YouTube is dealing with real life struggles and tragedy. For some reason, every man in Bigfoot media has had to portray themselves in an unrealistic portrayal of impenetrable masculinity. It's that John Rain representation that is unrealistic. The Bigfoot community encapsulates the idea of the great white hunter, the American cowboy, two totally misunderstood American archetypes. Today, we have a new social media definition of this, and it's called toxic masculinity, showing any kind of vulnerability or pain is a weakness and is a fate worse than death. And every man in front of the camera in Bigfoot is like this, except one, David Paulides. Now, David is next to be featured on my show, Off the Rictor. And in getting ready to roast his ass, I have listened to his Coast to Coast AM interviews and watched all 149 of his YouTube videos. And out of all of that bravado, there were 2 videos he made that touched me.
Hey, Dave Paulides, K&M Missing Project, copyrighted edition for our YouTube page. YouTube, I prayed 1,000 times I'd never have to make. It's about my son. I don't want to imply that this has anything to do with missing people, although I miss him.
I got to see the real man that he is, the grief-stricken, vulnerable father. Not the arrogant, egomaniac conspiracy theorist who has a God complex that's liberal-phobic. I got to see who he really is. He puts up such a big front. Why do so many of you straight men do that? Vulnerability is a bad word to you guys, like liberalism. Quit measuring your dicks and hug one another. Anyway, his 2 videos I am referring to are the ones where he openly talks about losing his son Ben to suicide in January.
Ben must have been in a hellacious anxiety and fear to do what he did.
He also openly talks about seeing a grief counselor. His transparency blew me away. A big, macho, tough-as-nails Trumper admitting to getting help and talking about it is to be commended. First of all, I think every Trump supporter should see a therapist. That's a good start. Seriously, I respect David Paulides for that. Even though I think he's an absolute jackass most of the time, I will always be in his corner for being authentic. Because in Bigfoot, there is no authenticity. Everyone in Bigfoot media is either lying to you or trying to con you. Think of Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, the 700 Club, Joel Osteen, everyone. And David knows I have always had his back secretly. Because we talked on the phone once when he was being ganged up on Facebook. Now, if you remember, David, I told you that you were wasting your time fighting with those keyboard warriors because you're David Paulides. You're a successful Bigfoot author, and they're all losers who would cut their arm off just to have a touch of your success. You see, David's weakness is not being able to handle criticism. No one really can, but that's nothing but dust on his shoulder. What broke this man's shoulders was the worst thing imaginable. David's son was 29 years old. He had the whole world ahead of him. He was an athlete, a total lady killer. My God. He was handsome as the day is long and a fantastic up-and-coming filmmaker who produced and co-directed Missing 411 for his dad. And due to mental illness, he's no longer here. I can relate to what Paulides is going through because of my mom, and I can relate to what his son Ben had been fighting. My own mental illness is chronic depression, hence my weight going up and down over the past 5 years. It's a never-ending battle with me. There are days where I struggle to get out of bed and find the energy to go to the gym. I have good days and I have bad days. I know I've had more than anyone's share of tragedy, and yet here I am. I'm still here. I have lost friends to suicide over the years, including, for all intent and purposes, my own mother. I couldn't understand why she gave up on life. Wasn't I enough for her to want to live? I'm her son, her only remaining son since my brother died when I was 6. I will never understand ever as to why she gave up on me in life. As a result, I have anger issues about that to this day. Now that's entirely all on me, and for the past 5 years, I have learned to box up my anger and put it on a shelf so I can at least try to get through my day. Losing my entire family by the age of 45 was and still is a lot to handle. I have no one.
Ben even designed this poster himself. That was his drawing. And there's woods in the background and a map, and it's like a boy walking away. It's a story about missing kids in the woods.
The David that I saw, the grieving father, the human being. I was touched. I connected with him. I wanted to hug him. I wanted to help him, make him feel better, somehow take away the pain. It reminded me of when I was 6 years old when my brother died. You see, my brother, Randy, he's right there, he was 20 and 14 years older than me. I was a surprise baby. And he went skiing with his friends from work one day. It was a day trip. They weren't going to be spending the night. And he was teaching them how to ski on the bunny slopes. This was in Big Bear in 1979, the first week of January. And Randy wanted to go skiing down the mountain. He couldn't take his friends with him because they were just learning how to ski. And he was a pretty good skier. They let him go on the ski lift up to the top of the mountain. And that's when a storm hit. I guess a storm was coming, and maybe Randy wasn't too worried about it. I don't know. All I know is that there was a storm coming in, and everybody was going back into the lodge. And there goes my brother to the top of the mountain. And that's when the whiteout occurred. I'm not sure if it was a day or 2 days later, my brother's roommate, who was his best friend Gary, gets a phone call from those same people that were there with Randy in Big Bear. Hey, Randy hasn't been to work. Where is he? And Gary was like, what? He went skiing with you guys. He didn't come home with us. And Gary's like, what? The whole family freaked out. It was instant chaos. Where's Randy Riolo? He went skiing up in Big Bear with his friends. I am a living missing 411 chapter. I know what it feels like to be a grieving loved one from someone that doesn't come home. They did find my brother 3 months later. Anyways, a hiker found him, and he had unzipped his jacket. He was completely frozen. I'm guessing Randy was under 15 feet of snow because that was the estimate of the snowdrifts there in Big Bear from that storm. He had unzipped his jacket from hypothermia. He had taken off his gloves and put them in a cross formation on the rock in front of him. His skis weren't with him. He had lost his skis somehow when he was coming down the wrong side of the mountain. See, when Randy got to the top, they believe that's when the whiteout occurred. And it was like two directions which way to go. And he was possibly disoriented, scared. He was in a blizzard. Didn't know where to go. Didn't have survival skills. And he made the wrong decision. And he went down the wrong side of the mountain, which was extremely treacherous. There was a tremendous bruise on his chest. The coroner believed that Randy had fallen at some point. There were no broken bones. But nonetheless, he had been through hell that night. And the coldness and the freezing temperatures just got to him. And he froze to death. So he gets found a half a mile from the lodge. And I remember a bunch of people being over at the house. I remember the pain, the confusion, the desperation my parents were going through. My mom shrieking with her crying. I was 6 years old. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't capable of truly understanding. I know something bad had happened, but I didn't know what. But all these people were over at the house. I'm guessing it's because my parents got a phone call that a body had been found, and they were expecting the police to arrive. I remember looking through the window and seeing a police car come, and I thought that was kind of scary because I've only seen police cars on TV, and one time I got in trouble. I was 5 years old. I was a hooligan. Nonetheless, nothing serious. The police come, and they knock on the door. And I remember seeing my dad crying. It was the first time I ever saw my father cry. Everybody was crying. We got the news. Randy had been found. That was the beginning of my whole world being turned upside down. Then my godmother passed away, my aunts and uncles, my grandparents, and then my folks, and then my dog. And here I am, 49 years old. My coworkers at work thought I was suicidal. I told them I had depression. They forced me to talk to a counselor. So I swallowed my pride, and I did. And guess what the therapist told me? I had depression. No shit, Sherlock. My whole world was over. For years, I took care of my folks and my elderly dog. And for a year, I was even trying to help my alcoholic best friend and his substance abusing wife until I had to evict them from my home. I was always the caregiver, even with my friends. And when everyone died, I had an existential crisis. No one needed me anymore. I was responsible for myself, and that was a shock to my system. Death was hurting me. My friends were hurting me. It felt like life was out to get me at every turn. My dad died, my mom died. My roommates turning my home life upside down, and then my dog died, pushed me close to the edge. I cried and I asked God for help. I begged Him for strength. After everything I went through in such a short amount of time, I now understand why people resort to drugs, alcohol, and yes, suicide. Even suicide. I get it. The pain is overwhelming. The heartache is deafening. Nothing in life prepares you for that kind of living hell. But it's still a choice, and it is preventable. I wasn't thinking about killing myself at all. No one commits suicide because they want to die. They do it because they want to stop the pain. I now understand that, and it's taken me years to finally get that. But not everyone is strong, and not everyone thinks like me. However, I wanted to end my life when I was 16 years old. I was ashamed for being gay, and I was extremely angry at God for having this unwanted sexuality. I remember holding the razor blade in the bathroom with the sink running, and I couldn't do it. My empathy for my parents was bigger than my own self-loathing. It would kill them if I died, because I remembered how my brother's death affected my parents 10 years prior. So I decided to live and forgive myself for not being able to impossibly change who I am. I would be lying if I said I still don't feel all alone. But I now have 2 German shepherds that are my whole world, and I am theirs. I am needed again, and I have a role to play. In my journey with my mental illness, distractions are very important while dealing with depression. They help get your mind off of things, but it's all for nothing if you don't talk to someone. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Think about it. The worst thing that could happen to you has already happened, and you're still here, right? So forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for your failures. Commend yourself for your strength, even if it's for just getting out of bed and taking a shower. Every step you make is a win. If you need medication, see a doctor. The time for unnecessary pride is over. But be careful with doctor-prescribed medication. Prozac affects everyone's brain chemistry differently. Trust me, I know. When I was on it for a few months, it made my depression 100 times worse. A young friend of mine was on Prozac when she took her life. Please know that serotonin medication isn't for everyone. It's not always the magic pill, but it might be for you. What I have found that works in combating my demons is having a habitual routine. I fall rather into one easily, and you do things on cruise control without even thinking about it. I get up out of bed, I tell the puppies good morning, let the dogs out, go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, take my pills, and then take a shower. And then I go to the gym and meet my trainer. That is my daily sequence of events. I don't even have to think. I just merely function autonomously. Then the weight of the day is put on my shoulders and I'm able to take it all on. It's at night when I'm lying in bed, when my demons crawl out from the shadows to torment me. That's when I can't turn my brain off. That is when I'm the most vulnerable. I know this now. Now looking back, if I could trade places with Ben Paulides, I would. No questions asked. If I could give him just an ounce of my mental stability to fight his demons, I would. Hell, I would take them all on for him if I could. That goes for everyone in the Bigfoot world. I believe we are all here on this planet to love all and serve all, including an openly Antifa liberal like me. Even a libertarian conservative nutcase making conspiracy videos in a bunker in Montana deserves all the love and support in the world. All these Bigfoot videos, Bigfoot books, Bigfoot nonsense are nothing but distractions from what's really happening in our lives. That's why I think people take this Bigfoot nonsense, this belief system, way too far. I hope David Paulides leaves the Bigfoot world. He's too good for it. The Bigfoot community doesn't deserve someone like him. The Bigfoot world deserves hoaxers because that's what they encourage and put on pedestals. I also hope that David continues his writing, but instead of writing about missing people, missing hunters, blah, blah, I hope he writes about missing dreams, missing love, missing Ben, because that's what's important. And wouldn't it be great if David spoke at high schools about his son Ben? Telling kids that there's no shame in talking about mental illness, that they are all loved and needed more than words. For years, he has been the go-to man about missing people, and now he knows firsthand what it's like to miss someone with immeasurable pain. He will always be Ben's dad. And for those of you watching this, contemplating your own self-worth or suicide, it does get better. As cliche as that sounds, tomorrow is another day, and I get it. For some of you, it's unbearable, and we need to understand that and offer all our help, love, and support. Living, coping, and surviving is an act of courage. The struggle is real, and you matter more than you'll ever know. So tell someone you love them, even your Bigfoot nemesis. Message David Paulides and tell him you hear him, that you share his pain, and that he's not alone. If not him, I guarantee you there's someone in your life right now that needs to hear that. Needs to hear that their life matters and that they are needed and that their pain is validated and it will not and should not be handled alone. And that they're loved. I know a little bit what David Paulides has gone through, and hearing his son's voice on Coast to Coast AM when he was excited about the Missing 411 movie that he had made with his father, that energy, that enthusiasm, that life, it was fantastic to hear. Because David is lucky to have that of his son. I know he would much rather like to have his son back, of course, but to hear his voice, to see him in videos, I don't have that with my brother.
I can't remember his voice anymore. I'm told that when the day comes, that he will be there for me, and then I know what it's like to be a frickin' chapter in this book. And now David knows what it's like to lose something so terrible. And I would never wish that on him. Yeah, he's the biggest jackass in the world of Bigfoot, but goddamn. Thank you for sharing Ben's story with us, David Paulides.
What's heartbreaking is the parents of kids who disappear, who blame themselves. You can see it as they're struggling to even tell the story. They blame themselves, don't they?
Yeah, and I really don't think anybody can pass judgment on people like that until it has happened to them. And unfortunately, when you have with the rise of social media, you get so many great things. I mean, interconnectedness. At the same time, it can really tear down people and other good causes.